All right, Josh. I know you've been waiting for this segment
Oh yeah,
for
I
the
can't wait.
entire night. For 1 hour and 10 minutes, you have been on the edge of your seat waiting for
I'm a draft guy, man. I
the
love mock
mock draft
drafts. Oh,
roundup.
I love
All
it.
right, everybody. So, what we have done here is we have gone around the internet, around the globe, around the whole entire universe, and found all the mock drafts for the Miami Dolphins at pick 13. We're also going to talk a little, we have a few mock drafts with the second round, too. We're going to talk about that. We actually have mock drafts that are all 7 rounds, but we don't need to talk about that yet. We got a few
No,
weeks. We got
yeah,
a few weeks. Um,
simmer down.
so we'll see. We're gonna take a look at who people are mocking to the Miami Dolphins in the first 2 rounds. And
Yeah,
Josh, being such a nerd when it comes to this stuff, I am really just gonna feed him questions about guys, and he's gonna give us the deets on why this is a good selection, why this would be a bad selection, or if he doesn't want to do that, who is this person and why is he in the first round? That's a better one, right?
yep. And I think if it's okay with you and everyone watching, I think for those that we have like all 7 rounds, let's hit like maybe the first 2 or 3 picks, right? So the
All right.
first
So
two or
yeah, the
like
first
two or
two
three
days
rounds.
is fine, I think.
Yeah.
First 2 days. All right. First mock draft comes from Merrick Brave of the Phinsider. This is also a Dolphins fan site. He did a 7 round mock draft. We'll talk about the first 3 rounds. So he has us starting off with a corner, Will Johnson out of Michigan. In the second round, he has us going wide receiver Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. And in the third round, a tight end, Elijah Arroyo out of Miami. Josh, there ain't no freaking lineman in these first 3 picks.
I,
What
I
is
know.
going on?
Yeah, and just a caveat. So we're going to be covering 4 mock drafts. The first 2 were pre-combine. So we understand that Will Johnson might have moved up, might have moved down based on combine stats. But honestly, this is, as much as I don't want to admit this is kind of how I see a draft going for us. I don't see us potentially attacking offensive line in the with the first round pick, even though it's a real popular choice, right? And it
Um,
makes sense. I mean, obviously it depends on who falls, but Will Johnson out of Michigan is a stud. I mean, we're talking he's he's a baller, right? He's the best cornerback in the draft, in my opinion, and I have him as a top 10 player on my top 100 big board. His best position obviously is that outside man press cornerback. He is 92 percentile in his position group in height. He's 86 percentile, or I'm sorry, 96 percentile in 40 time. He ran a 4.3 at the combine, and he's like 6'1", I think, or something like that. He held opposing quarterbacks while at Michigan to 41.5% QBR last year, 85% in coverage, 75 percentile in zone, and 82 percentile in man press. This dude does everything. He is probably would be our number 2. Should we have drafted him, or should we draft him? But will be our eventual number 1. This guy is a stud. Trey Harris is the epitome of what we need on this team, right? He's from Ole Miss. He's an outside X receiver. He's 6'2", 205. He was 84th.
6'2". We
Yeah,
talked
he's
about that
huge.
magic number.
Yep. And he's fast,
Mm.
right? 84 percentile in the vert, meaning there were very few players better than him in the vert. He jumped 38.7, helped his quarterback maintain 143 QBR when targeted. That's outstanding. That's ridiculous
Yeah, that's
as an
amazing.
outside X receiver. And he was 90 percentile or better in short routes, intermediate routes, deep routes. And he was just under 70 percentile in blocking, which he's your
6'2"
X's.
what? 6'2" what?
205.
205. What is this? What was his 40? Do we know?
I don't have it off the top of my head. It
But
was
he's
in
quick.
I think it was like 4.4 something, like just under 4.5. Yeah.
I imagine.
Yep. Now, he's 205. You put him in an NFL strength and conditioning program, his playing weight's probably 215, right?
Yeah, 210, 215, something
Yeah.
like that.
And Arroyo out of Miami, the tight end. I mean, he's an inline kind of a multi-tool type tight end. He's 6'5", 250, so big dude, right? Think Durham Smythe-esque.
Oh, good.
He's got a massive wingspan. I mean, huge wingspan. He ran 4.69, so just under 4.7 in the 40 at 6'5", 250. I mean, that's outstanding. And he was, of all the tight ends in the draft, he was 85th percentile in deep routes rather, and just over 80 percentile in intermediate routes.
I gotta say, so I don't have a problem with these players. They all sound
No,
amazing.
it's not who I would.
They're all top of their position, it seems.
Well, top-ish, right?
Top-ish.
Arroyo, I think, is tight end 3 or 4. But
I mean, tight end 3 or 4 in the third round is pretty good,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
But if we go 3 rounds without drafting offensive line,
you might have a coronary.
There's no free agent offensive linemen that are good enough to justify not taking an offensive lineman in the first 3 rounds. I would probably rage quit the live show that we're doing on the draft.
Yeah. Yep.
But listen, so I mean, he does to give him his due. He takes it doesn't take. I can't even give him due. He doesn't take an offensive line
until the 7th round. Or 5th? Is it? Oh yeah, the tackle.
Yeah, Jalen Rivers in the 5th round. Then he takes Xavier Truss in the 7th round
out of Georgia. Yeah, this is a bad mock. I'm not a fan of this mock. I like the first pick. I think Will Johnson on this team would be lights out. But other than that,
we're moving on. So we're focusing on first round picks. That's Will Johnson in the first round. Is not the only person who has mocked that. Actually, somebody in our chat mocked that a few weeks ago when we were talking about this.
Yeah, I forgot who it was, but I mean, that's a real popular pick.
If you're out there and you were the one, comment on this video. We want to hear from you because you may be right. And we know we're crazy, so that's fine. All right, so this next mock comes from Josh Liskovitz of PFF.
Not it.
And he did something really cool, is that he picked kind of like an offensive lineman in each of the first 2 rounds.
Yeah. Now, again, caveat being
pre-combine.
This is pre-combine, so there is no possible way that either of these players.
Don't say.
There's no. I'm sorry.
There's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Hey,
Josh.
Unless we start sending bong videos of Armand Membu,
we could do it. We could do it. It's the internet age, baby. We can do anything.
What? There's deep fakes. We're in deep fake country.
We got this. We got this. So let me just say the names before you dive in, because these are at least one of these names our listeners have heard before.
Yeah.
So Armand Membo, we have mentioned a couple times, right?
Stud. Yeah.
But this other one, Tyler Booker, I feel like we mentioned first weeks ago. Many weeks ago.
Yep.
Like at the end of the regular season, we were talking about him.
Tyler Booker is that guy.
Yeah. So I would be shocked to see Tyler Booker there at 48, but I have to admit that watching the PFF guys do a live mock again today, they did another one today. They do one every couple days. He fell to the 2nd round again.
Yeah, he had a rough combine, right? And some apparent questionable interviews with some teams, but that doesn't take away from his talent, in my opinion, right? So, I mean, you look at Membu, I think he is the top offensive lineman in this draft now. I mean, this dude is like made in a lab, a super soldier, right? He's 6'4", 332. He's 97th percentile, meaning there's points, like 0.00 worth of players as a whole on the offensive line that are better than him. So he's 97th percentile in the 40-yard dash at 6'4", 332, in the vert and in the broad jump. Now, for those that aren't super familiar with what that equates to, that means he's explosive. That means he's got lateral agility, and he's 90 percentile last year and 90 percentile in run blocking and 92 percentile in pass blocking.
So I need to ask now.
Hit me.
Because I love looking at the mock drafts at the end of the season, and then the mock drafts by the time we get to the combine, and especially right after the combine.
Yep.
Armand Membo wasn't in the top 10.
Nope. Armand Membo was like in the 20s.
At the end of last. Yeah, right. So, okay. Is the talent top 10, or is the talent more in the 20s and he's being risen up the board because of his combine?
The combine is helping, right? Because it's the underwear Olympics. But this dude right now is I would say top 10. He will not last past the Patriots, in my opinion, past 5.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I've seen that too. I've seen that too.
this dude has the potential to be really good. I mean, really, really, really good. Um, round two guard. He is a true guard in Tyler Booker from Alabama. He's a left guard. Hey, works for me. We need one. we need a few. He's 6'5", 321. And because I'm from Connecticut, I thought this was a really cool stat that I was unaware of. He's actually from New Haven, Connecticut, so I'm kind of rooting for him.
There you go.
Yep. He's 93 percentile in hand size, 89 percentile last season in pass blocking, and 82 percentile run blocking. So obviously, if you compare it to Membu, he's a little less at both of the kind of key stats that you look for in a guard as far as pass blocking and run blocking. But this dude is a massive human, and he is quick. He's agile. He's got short burst. He's got massive hands, which is a great indicator for holding blocks and getting under the pads and really kind of being able to I have small hands, but like spread your palm on the chest of the defender that's rushing you to be able to push and to be able to manipulate. And he could be fun if he lasts the second round, brother. I'm telling you what, we better, and he's at our pick, we better be doing somersaults, backflips, and paper airplanes and shooting off some fireworks, because he would be a phenomenal pick for us in the second round if he's there.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
okay. Follow-up question.
Hit me.
This goes back to Armand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you turned your back on Kelvin Banks Jr.? It feels like you
a little bit.
Feels like because he was your boy.
I think at 13, I'd still take him. I think he's, his combine and some of his stuff. I think his pro day will be kind of the deciding factor for him. I think I liked his versatility. I still like his versatility. He played at a big college. He's really good at a lot of things. He's not a bad pick if we take him, right? I just don't think you take him at 13 with the players at other positions, right? If you are honed in at the offensive line, which I don't think we should hone in on any position, because that's how you reach. Sure. You take best player available, in my opinion, at need. Yeah, he'd be a great pick too.
Okay. All right. So the rest of the draft from Josh here on PFF, he took
not me,
not you, Josh Liskovitz. He took a defensive lineman, Josh Farmer, out of Florida State, a safety, Jonas Sanker, out of Virginia, cornerback, Dorian Strong. I've heard this name a lot, actually, lately.
Yeah.
Out of Virginia Tech. Edge rusher, Savion Jones, out of LSU. Another offensive lineman in the 5th round. Love that. Out of Cincinnati, John Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 7th round, we have 3 picks. So Rock Taylor out of Memphis is a wide receiver.
Love that pick.
Running back, Jordan James, out of Oregon. I don't know how you say it. And linebacker, David Benda?
Sure. Let's go with that.
We'll go with Benda. The G is silent, I'm sure.
Yep. So is the B. His last name is Enda.
Enda. He's gonna end your life. All right. We're going crazy here. Let's move on. So next up on the docket of mock drafts, we got our boy Kyle Krabs over in Locked On Dolphins.
This. Yeah.
He knows a thing or two about the Miami Dolphins. Been covering them for a few years now.
Yep.
So, we as Dolphins fans take his opinion very seriously.
Yes.
As we should, right?
Very
I
much
think
so.
him and Travis Wingfield are the two guys you should probably take pretty seriously.
And Dudley. Yep.
And Dudley, they all have their finger on the pulse here.
Yep.
So Kyle has us going with linebacker. I've seen this one quite a few times now.
I love this pick.
Linebacker Jihad Campbell out of Alabama, which, Josh, I got to give you your due. I'm pretty sure when we were talking defense a few weeks ago, you brought up this name.
Yep. Yeah, I think it was. I think Keith mentioned it in the same sentence as I did, and yeah, this is who I hope we choose. If I'm being completely candid, not to spoil our next, the shows we have later on.
A linebacker at 13.
Yeah, this guy. Oh, sorry. Finish round 2.
All right, so it's a linebacker Jihad Campbell out of Alabama. I'm sorry, I got tied up in it too. And defensive lineman Alfred Collins out of Texas. This Texas defensive line must have been good.
Oh yeah, it was phenomenal. And this one is post combine, so this is taking into account combine results, players jumping up the board, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
Javad Campbell is kind of my, I have one every year, is like my man crush, right? This is the guy I hope we pick. I mean, barring any kind of crazy, tumbles in the draft for,
Sure.
This guy would fix the middle of our defense for the foreseeable future. I mean, this guy is like has the potential to be very like elite in my opinion. And he's a box to box linebacker. He's 6'3", 235. He ran a 4.5 40, which put him in the 93rd percentile. He was 94th percentile in broad jump, 93rd percentile in 10-yard splits, 93rd percentile in tackling, 84% or above in pass rush, run defense, and coverage as a linebacker. This guy is your big, tall, do-it-all, can thump, can cover, can run, can strip, can intercept, can pick six. He does everything.
Linebacker though, man, like it's
it's a need, bro.
It's
It
but
really
it's a
is.
position that doesn't have the gravitas. I use that word twice now. I got to find a different word.
Yep.
It doesn't have the value anymore. It's like the running back of the defense.
But if I could tell you the running back of the defense was Patrick Queen, who's your best linebacker? Who do you think the best linebacker in the league is?
I don't even know. We don't have the guys like we used to have.
Well, let's use the running back analogy. If I told you I could give you a Saquon Barkley on defense, would you take him?
But
and only have to pay him.
You can't know that.
But that is the type of talent that this kid could be, right? That is for all indicators, and this is all we can do. He could be the Jamar Russell of linebackers for all we know.
Sure.
But he could also be the next elite play. And if you look at statistics and you look at everything that you have in front of you, there is no reason to believe that this player, I mean, unless he just comes into the leagues and thinks his doesn't stink and doesn't put in the work, which is very possible.
Sure.
There's no reason to believe that an Alabama linebacker with his statistics will not produce in the NFL.
I mean, what I'll give you is at least he's closer to the line than Malachi Starks, safety. So he's closer to the trenches, which is good. I'm having, and you know this because we talked about this at the beginning of last year. Yeah. I am not a guy who thinks you should take the trenches in the first round all the time, right? But I just feel like our trenches are bare. Like there's not even any slop in there for the pigs to eat right now.
Well, and there's some clarity with this pick from Kyle Krabs specifically because and I also happen to, not because I'm a huge fan of his, but I also believe that I believe in the logic that he took with this pick, which is this is under the assumption that Miami overcorrects and spends a lot of money in free agency, right? So we get our 2 starting guards, we get a backup tackle, we get, we do a lot in free agency, which will allow us to not have to reach on a player because the offensive linemen are going to be going high and early and often, right? And so the question would be, would you rather at pick 13, and I'm making this up, would you rather take the 6th best offensive lineman or the first top linebacker? You know what I mean?
Like, say though, because you don't know what the talent level is. Like the top 6 offensive linemen could be better than the top linebacker.
It's not. Right? I can promise you, it's not. Right. But you pair this guy next to Brooks, right? And your linebacker core is like the 49ers linebacker core.
Yeah, but like what good is that if your defensive linemen are always on the floor and your linebackers can't get past the offensive linemen? It's like that's my
true.
And
that's why you have free agency. And that's why you draft a defensive lineman with round 2.
Yeah, I'm with Armando here. Build the trenches heavy because we're gonna miss. We're gonna miss. Of course we are, right? I mean,
of course we are.
Yeah, everybody does.
Hey, we won't miss in unrestricted free agents, but we'll miss in rounds 1 through 4.
Good convo there. Good convo. I love Krabs there. Coming in with the thoughtfulness and the context was great. We'll see how it plays out. I'm so excited for it. So excited.
Yeah,
but that's not the last mock we have.
No, and just a quick comment on his round 2 pick, Alfred Collins out of Texas. This dude is a true nose tackle. 6'6", 332. Ran a sub 540. He ran a 4.9 540 at 6'6", 332.
That's crazy.
This dude is
literally a bus.
Oh, that's exactly what he is. Yeah. And he's awesome. he's better in run defense than he is in anything else, which obvious what you want from your nose tackle.
Love that pick. It's so hard to
contextualize.
It's so hard to judge these mock drafts when we don't know what's going to happen in free agency. And free agency is going to dictate. I mean, at least for like a couple hours, free agency is going to dictate what happens.
Yeah, and just for those that are listening or watching this later, like we're doing mock draft roundups. We have a series of shows post free agency where we are going to take our stabs at kind of a mock how we would approach the draft based on the moves that we made, right?
Sure.
Which could very well change all of this, right? I mean, who the hell knows who we sign or who we trade for?
Okay, so this last one is interesting here, and then I have a few
Yep.
players that I've seen that we haven't talked about yet that I want to get to.
Mhm.
But this next one from Trevor Sikkema and Connor Rogers of NFL Stock Exchange. Great guys.
Yes.
Trevor Sikkema, I hear his name
Yep.
all the time.
This might be my favorite mock that we go over today.
This safety out of South Carolina at post combine has popped up on virtually every mock draft that has been done post combine as the 13th pick in the draft.
Yeah, and you'll understand why when I tell you his first 2 bullets.
Nick Imanwari?
Yep.
Did I get that?
Imanwari. Yep.
Imanwari out of South Carolina with the first pick. And then the second pick is a versatile offensive lineman, which fits perfectly with what we like to do. Marcus Bowe out of Purdue.
They am silent.
I see that. Thank you for the pronunciation. That's a perfect note right there.
Yeah, that I credit our co-host Taylor for that, because I was like mbao.
It's more fun, to be honest.
It's the Hanson brother. So yeah, Nick Imanwari from South Carolina. This dude is a nightmare. It would be so fun to have on our defense, and so fun in a wheeler defense. He's a man zone kind of a slot nickel safety, so he can play everywhere. Are you ready for this? Grab onto your seats.
I'm not ready for it.
This is why this dude shot up boards. He's 6'3", 220. He ran a 4.38 40.
Oh.
At 6'3", 220.
4.38?
4.38 at 6'3", 220.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Yeah,
dude.
I know.
That shouldn't shoot you up draft boards, by the way. I hate that happens,
with that speed, he might shoot him up.
Nuts.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a type, right? Like, we love speed, and he's 6'3", 220 with speed. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was 96th percentile or higher, so that's an A+ if you're looking at it from a grade scale in college. He's an A+ or higher in height, in 40, in vert, in broad jump, and in 10-yard splits versus his peers. Let me say that again for those in the back that didn't hear it. He is 96th percentile, meaning there are 2 or 3 players in this draft that are better than him in height, in 40, in the 40-yard dash, in vert, in broad jump, and in 10-yard split at the safety position.
Okay. So I'm going to play devil's advocate again, right?
Hit me.
Because I love these guys who rise up the draft board. It's my favorite thing, because it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? This is the first chance we get to hear from NFL scouts and stuff as to what they feel about these players. And that's why there's usually so much movement in mock drafts and rankings, stuff like that. Where was he prior to the mock?
I have no idea.
Prior to
I believe he was a middle to bottom first round type player. I don't remember where I saw him drafted pre-combine, right? Yeah, he is touted as the best tackler in the draft.
I see PFF still has him at 43 overall, and it was just updated yesterday, so that's post-combine already. Yep. I would be curious to see. Look, that doesn't mean I don't like. I mean, those measurables with that speed is, at the very least, would be fun to watch.
Yeah, and I will say this: he's, in my opinion, and I had a man crush for many months on I see I already forgot his name. Who was the safety?
Malachi?
Yeah, Malachi Starks. He's the number 1 safety in my opinion in this draft. This dude is a machine.
Wait, who? Malachi or
no.
Umanwara or whatever.
Nick. Okay. Nick, last name I butcher every time I say it. Yeah, Imanwari. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is a prime example of the combine probably shined light on his film.
South Carolina is probably not seeing much yet.
Right. And when you combine a 6'3", 220 running a sub 4.4 with what he was putting on screen, you're like, okay, this dude's legit. Right?
I'm literally gonna go and watch, because somebody always posts like the audiences, which is all the coaches and GMs sitting in the stands, their reaction to a fast, tall guy. I'm gonna go watch that after the show.
Yeah. Yep. And just for time's sake, right? Because I do want to get to some hot takes from the deep end if we have time.
Yeah, tell me about this versatile offensive lineman here in a second.
Yeah. So from Purdue, he's a multi-role offensive lineman. This guy is the epitome of kind of a Swiss Army knife, in my opinion, right? He can play. I would say his least favorable position is probably center.
Okay.
but good backup, right? And God forbid something happens with Brewer. I think he's probably best suited for guard, but he can play tackle. He's played at Purdue. He played all three at various times. He's 6'4", 303, so got some good mass to him, and he's kind of stout in the butt area, if you will. So that's really good for offensive linemen. He's better as a run blocker than he is a pass blocker. So I personally think this is an okay pick at 2. I would be real curious to see who was there, because I do think that, in my opinion, this might be a tiny bit of a reach. So if we were to maybe trade back a couple spots and get, a 4th or a 5th or whatever the case is,
Sure.
This pick would make a lot more sense to me, and I would be more on board with it. But I don't hate it.
I love a versatile offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And
so
it might be a little too early, top of the 2nd. Maybe you want that top of the 3rd, but.
And so does this team. They thrive on versatility.
100%. I mean, that's why they drafted Eichenberg, right?
Yeah, well,
It hasn't
unfortunately,
worked out, but
no, sure hasn't. We traded up for him.
yeah. So listen, this might make you happy. So Chad Reuter did a mock here, and he had Miami trading down to 25 and still getting Jihad Campbell out of Alabama.
Yeah, if that happens, I might need to go change.
Yeah, you won't be on the show anymore. You'll have you'll need to excuse yourself.
Yes, I will.
Other names I've heard.
Family friendly.
A few of them we've talked about here. Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia, I've seen quite a bit, quite a bit.
He was my staple for many months.
I remember you mentioned him too.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Walker, the linebacker out of Georgia, I've seen just once. And this other guy I've seen just once as well, which was Josh Simmons, the tackle out of Ohio State.
Yeah, I believe Josh Simmons is like Keith's man crush. And Keith, please don't kill me if I got that wrong, but this dude is a mauler. This guy plays like somebody murdered his whole family. I mean, this guy is angry and is strong. He's got like that country strength. And as somebody originally from the South, this guy is somebody, if we can get on our team, we should. I've seen a lot of recent mock drafts that have him going relatively high. Okay. And I've also seen some where he lasts into the late 20s. So he's kind of all over the place, which kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah, that's a scary proposition. Okay, so before we get to the takes from the deep end, I do want to repeat the names that we talked about here, just in case anybody who's listening wants to go check out these players for yourself and see what they're all about. So initially, we talked about cornerback Will Johnson out of Michigan and wide receiver Trey Harris out of Ole Miss, as well as tight end Elijah Arroyo out of Miami. So that was a 3-round mock we covered from Merrick Brave of the Phinsider. Josh Liskovitz out of PFF gave us Armand Membu out of Missouri, the tackle/guard, and guard Tyler Booker out of Alabama, which would just be a freaking dream scenario if that ended up coming to fruition. Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins gave us linebacker Jihad Campbell out of Alabama and defensive lineman Alfred Collins out of Texas.
I love it.
And then Trevor Sikkema and Connor Rogers of the NFL Stock Exchange gave us Nick Emenwari, a safety out of South Carolina, and Marcus Bowe, who is a versatile offensive lineman, plays all 3 positions out of Purdue. Other names you may see out there: Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia, Jalen Walker, the linebacker out of Georgia, Kelvin Banks, the tackle/guard out of Texas, and Josh Simmons, who is the tackle out of Ohio State.
And don't forget the random TJ Warren sighting as well at tight end. Tyler Warren. What did I say? TJ? Jesus. Yeah.
Is his nickname TJ? I don't know.
Nope.
It could be. Oh.
Nope.
So Tyler Warren was Taylor's pick a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Most people have him going to the Colts right behind us. It'd be interesting if we took him there.
I mean, I think that's a perfect fit. Yeah, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Probably.
All right, so guys, let us know your thoughts. Like, you have got to be, if you're a huge Dolphins fan, and if you're watching us here on March 5th, you're a huge Dolphins fan. So thank you so much for coming and watching and hanging out with us. But let us know who your picks are in the comments, man. We want to see, because everybody's wrong this time of year, so I want to see who's the least wrong of all the wrong people, so that we can.
I like it. I want to see who's wrong from all the wrong people. I love it.
Perfect.
Who's all wronger?
Right. Who's the wrongerest of the people? That's a word, right?
I love it. We've gone completely off the deep end.